and welcome! This is Brandy Rose Smith live in the Forbidden Library, and today it's reading day. I know I'm not 3D. I know I'd normally be 3D for reading, but it's been a long weekend. It's been my birthday. So I've been rightfully spoiled and done many things. So I'm a little sleepy. Good sleepy, but sleepy. But we're streaming it. Happy Easter! I hope you've had tasty chocolate eggs. My voice is still good, surprisingly. 3 hours of karaoke did not knock me out, which I thought it was gonna. I was sure it was gonna. Da 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 da. 3D Brady is hidden in an Easter egg to sleep. Yes, very much so. I haven't had any. I'm gonna go to the shops tomorrow and see if I can get some discounted Easter eggs. Because what's better than chocolate than discounted chocolate? And hello everyone. Hello Nimby. Hello Rahel. Hello No One Size Phantom. Welcome back, Jake. It feels like it's been a while. Welcome back, yay. Hello C86. Hello Native Gamer. And I think I covered you all. And hello anyone looking. And hello Vodders. Hello. There's no sugar-free chocolate eggs. That actually does suck if you can't have too much sugar. Remember, for 1 month you got gifted it, didn't you? During karaoke, which will be up on Archived Archive eventually. But it's been a very busy weekend, as I said. Should hopefully have time to put it up on Tuesday. The weekend hasn't really finished because it's a long weekend. It's bank holiday weekend. So Monday is still part of the weekend. My favorite kind of chocolate, free chocolate. My second kind of favorite, discounted chocolate, indubitably. Did we say chocolate? Chocolate, 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 chocolate. I've had lots of chocolate. I've had chocolate chip cookies. I've had tea cakes. They have chocolate. You have to work tomorrow, Boris? That sucks for you. Sadly, I had to work Thursday. Found out I wouldn't be getting paid for the whole day. Boo! Thursday didn't count for us. Our sort of holiday started for Friday and Monday, which is great because I was thinking about booking sort of a long weekend around my birthday anyway. But the government said, hey, it's a holiday for most people anyway. So here we are. It's great. I get to have time off around my birthday and I don't even have to use my days for it. Heck yeah. Know what we do have to do? I have to tell you what I read this week and it's not much, I won't lie. I've been slacking again. So the second Sonic no, I've got to do it the same as it is. So DC Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, that's the one. DC Sonic the Hedgehog issue 2 came out. And I'm very confused. Not very confused. There's these panels near the end where Shadow is not with them for a hot minute and then is with them in the next panel. And I don't know whether he's been replaced by something in the meantime or whether it was just they hadn't drawn him in. I don't know. I'm very curious to find out. I have to find out next month. Next month! Well, how they do it for us, 10-hour shifters, they give us Monday through Thursday workers, Thursday off, including Good Friday. Oh, that's cool. I thought you were going to put Sonic X Pikachu fanfic on the... Like I said, none of my fanfic that I have read will be on the list. I don't really read much in the way of smut, but I may as well just make that a rule. Most of my fanfics that I read are like hurt, comfort, found family nonsense, because that's what we need in this day and age. And I also played more Wonderstop, and Wonderstop gave me the wonderful book called Bullets Forever. Another Dirk Warhard novel. He was so hard. And it was very silly, and we love it. In-game media. From Wonderstop. Gam. 2025. And that's actually all I've got. I haven't even been reading that many webtoons this week. I've just absolutely slacked. Only 2 things. 2 whole things. But that's better than no things. So let's update the numbers. That one. So that brings us to 48. Da 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 da! Close. And now we can continue with the craziness that is folklore. Folklore that, like, I think the wonderful thing about folklore is that it's storytelling before we started refining storytelling so much. So that's why it's so messy. And I love it. 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 Also, I need to remember how to say this name. Apolypolinian. 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 I remembered! I'm very proud of myself that I remembered how to say that. Shall we get on? I'm going to get on. We've got the story of Gagioma. Gagioma? 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 Probably Gagioma. Gagioma. I'm really not sure how they probably pronounce that one. I don't want to call it gay if it ain't gay. Google Translate. I should have had this up straight away. Gagioma. Hindi detected. Gagioma. Gagioma is what Google says. Google Gaga, potentially, but Gagioma is what we're going for. Gagioma. I see. Tingwan. One day, while Ponitalao sat weaving a basket under his house, he began to feel very hungry and longed for something sweet to chew. You can try summon the Filipino. Having some Filipinos in the chat is always very useful for times like this. Then he remembered that his field was still unplanted. He called to his wife, who was in the room above, and said, "Come, Apolypolinian, let us go to the field and plant some sugarcane." So Apolypolinian came down out of the house with a bamboo tube, and while she went to the spring to fill it with water, Ponitalao made some cuttings, and they went together to the field, which was some distance from the house. Ponitalao loosened the earth with his long stick and set out the cuttings he had brought, while his wife sprinkled them with water from the bamboo tube. And when they had filled the field, they returned home happy to think of the splendid cane they should have. If you don't have your own folk tales, store-bought is fine. After 7 days, Ponitalao went back to the field to see if the plants had lived, and he found that the leaves were already long and pointed. This delighted him, and while he stood looking at it, he grew impatient and determined to use his magical power, so that the cane would grow very fast. In 5 days he again visited the field and found the stalks were tall and ready to chew. He hurried home to tell Apolypolinian how fast the plants had grown, and she was proud of her powerful husband. I'm going to need Google again. Come here, Google. Yeah, right. Store-bought folk tales like the legend of Pee Pee Poo Poo Man. Folk tales. The folk tales at home. Pee Pee Poo Poo Man. Well, if your country's too young for folk tales, you're probably not young enough for urban legends, though, because that's basically modern folk tales. Gotta get into those instead. Now, about this time, Gagioma, who was the daughter of Bagbagak. You have one folktale. A whole singular folktale. Tell me. A big star, and Singang the moon, looked down from her home in the sky, and when she saw the tall sugar-cane growing below, she was seized with a desire to chew it. She called to her father, Bag-a-Back, and said, "Oh, father, please send the stars down to the earth to get some of the sugar-cane that I see, for I must have it to chew. Daddy, get me the sugar-cane." So Bag-a-Back sent the stars down, and when they reached the bamboo fence that was around the field, they sprang over it, and each broke a stalk of the cane, and pulled some beans which a Polybolinayan had planted, and the stems of these beans were of gold. Guilma was delighted with the things that the stars brought her. She cooked the beans with the golden stems and spent long hours chewing the sweet cane. When all the stars brought was gone, however, she grew restless and called to her father, the big star, "Come, father, and go with me to the place where the sugar-cane grows, for I want to see it now." Bag-a-Back called many stars to accompany him, and they all followed Guilma down to the place where the sugar-cane grew. Some sat on the bamboo fence, while others went to the middle of the field, and all ate as much as they wished. The day following this, Aponitalau and his wife, a Polybolinayan, "I am going to the field to see if the bamboo fence is strong, for the caribou will try to get in and eat our sugar-cane." So he set out, and when he reached the field and began looking along the fence to see if it was strong, he kept finding the stalks that the stars had chewed, and he knew that someone had been there. He went into the middle of the field, and there on the ground was a piece of gold, and he said to himself, "How strange this is! I believe some beautiful girl must have chewed my cane." Aha! Yes, we found gold. That means pretty ladies, right? I love folklore logic. "I will watch tonight, and maybe she will return for more." As darkness came on, he had no thought of returning home, but he made his meal of the sugar-cane, and then hid in the tall grass near the field to wait. By and by, dazzling lights blinded his eyes, and when he could not see, he was startled to find many stars falling from the sky, and soon he heard someone breaking the cane. Suddenly a star so large that it looked like a flame of fire fell into the field, and then a beautiful object appeared near the fence, took off her dress, which looked like a star, and she appeared like the half of the rainbow. Never had Aponitalau seen such sights, and for a while he lay shaking with fear. "What shall I do?" he said to himself. "If I do not frighten these companions of the beautiful girl, they may eat me." With a great effort he jumped up and frightened the stars till they all flew up, and when the pretty girl came looking for her dress, she found Aponitalau sitting on it. "You must forgive us," she said, "for your sugar-cane is very sweet, and we wanted some to chew." "You are welcome to the sugar-cane," answered Aponitalau, "but now we must tell our names according to our custom, for it is bad for us to talk until we know each other's names." There was a sultan who saw a lion on an island, so he called it Singapore, but there are no lions here or something. Oh, that's cool. But yeah, it should you be going to bed, C86? Then he gave her some betel nut, and they chewed together. And he said, "Now it is our custom to tell our names." "Yes," she said, "but you tell first." "My name is Aponitalau. I am husband of a Polybolinayan." "I am Guilma, the daughter of Bagbagak and Siang, up in the air," said the girl. "And now, Ponytalau, even though you have a wife, I am going to take you up to the sky, for I wish to marry you." It's almost 3 a.m. Oh my god, bro. That is so that you're not late, you're early. Oh my gosh. You should be sleeping. That is sleepy time. Even though you have a wife, you are mine now, just so you know. Oh, no. "And I am going to take you up to the sky, for I wish to marry you. And if you are not willing to go, I shall call my companion stars to eat you." I didn't finish the sentence. I should have finished the sentence before I started laughing. Some of your dedications to VTubers. Oh, that's just how it is there. Yep, that took a turn. You're going to marry me, or else my pets will eat you. Gaigamora, you are a little bit terrifying. Ponytalau shook with fear, for he knew now that the woman was a spirit, and as he dared not refuse, he promised to go with her. Soon after, as the stars dropped, a basket that Gaigamora had ordered them to make, and Ponytalau stepped in with the lovely star, and was drawn quickly through the air to the sky. "Howdy, howdy! Welcome!" They were met on their arrival by a giant star who Gaigamora introduced as her father, and he told Ponytalau that he had acted wisely in coming, for if he had objected, the other stars would have eaten him. Just so you know, she wasn't lying. Dad said so too. "Seduce me or get turned into my poodle's chew toy." Correct. Poor Ponytalau. After Ponytalau had lived with the stars for some time, Gaigamora asked him to prick between her last 2 fingers, and as he did so, a beautiful baby popped out. Ah! It's a second finger baby! They named him Takyayen, and he grew very fast and was strong. All this time, Ponytalau had never forgotten Polybolinayan, who, he knew, was searching for him on Earth, but he had been afraid to mention her to the stars. When the boy was 3 months old, however, he ventured to tell Gaigamora of his wish to return to the Earth. What? Yeah, the second time it's happened. Average father-in-law, son-in-law relationship. At first, she would not listen to him, but he pleaded so hard that at last she consented to let him go for 1 moon. If he did not return at the end of that time, she said she would send the stars to eat him. Then she called for the basket again, and they were lowered to earth. There Ponytalau got out, but Gaigamora and the baby returned to the sky. Polybolinayan was filled with joy at the sight of her husband once more, for she had believed him dead, and she was very thin from not eating while he was away. Never did she tire of listening to his stories of his life among the stars, and so happy was she to have him again that when the time came for him to leave, she refused to let him go. That night many stars came to the house. Some stood in the windows, whilst others stayed outside by the walls, and they were so bright that the house appeared to be on fire. Ponytalau was greatly frightened, and he cried out to his wife, "You have done wrong to keep me when I should have gone. I feared that the stars would eat me if I did not obey their command, and now they have come. Hide me, or they will get me." But before Polybolinayan could answer, Babak himself called out, "Do not hide from us, Ponytalau, for we know that you are in the corner of your house. Come out, or we shall eat you." Trembling with fear, Ponytalau appeared, and when the stars asked if he was willing to go with them, he dared not refuse. Now Gaigomora had grown very fond of Aponitalao, and she had commanded the stars not to harm him if he was willing to return to her. So when he gave his consent, they put him in the basket and flew away with him, leaving Apolipolinayan very sad and lonely. After that, Aponitalao made many trips to the earth, but at Gaigamora's command, he always returned to the sky to spend part of the time with her. One day, when Takyayen was a little boy, Aponitalao took him down to earth to see his half-brother Kang. The world was full of wonders to the boy from the sky, and he wanted to stay there always. But after some time while he and Kang were playing out in the yard, big drops of water began to fall on them. It's not Kang. Kanang ran to his mother and cried, "Oh, mother, it's raining, and the sun is shining brightly." But Aponitalao looked out and said, "No, they are tears of I got it wrong again. Come on. Gaigioma, for she sees her son down below, and she weeps for him." Then he took Takyayen back to his mother in the sky, and she was happy again. After that, Takyayen was always glad when he was allowed to visit the earth, but each time when his mother's tears began to fall, he returned to her. When he was old enough, Aponitalao selected a wife for him, and after that, Takyayen always lived on earth, but Gaigioma stayed in the sky. Kind of cloning Tegas. There's a starman waiting in the sky to eat you. Good on the stars for respecting the boundary of the house for some reason. They're like vampires. They have to be invited in. Also, hello, Red Roach. Welcome. Stars welcome vampire rules. They do. Average dating. That's it. That's the whole story. That's it. Hello, Jay. Welcome. We are reading more of the lovely Krusty book. It's a wonderful Krusty book, and we're having a good time. I don't know. She seems to be the enchanter in a "if you don't stay with me, my friends will eat you" kind of way. I understood nothing. Yep. I hoped this one would have a better thing, but it's apparently not. That was a weak one. That was a weak one. The story of Google Taskid. When it's raining, go see your mum. Google won't tell me what this is. Google doesn't have the listen button! Proto-Yandere. And Aponitalao is our protagonist. Yes. Moral of the story: romantic, interesting from otherworldly beings are bad. Correct! It's very fey-coded. Hi, Sweetie, welcome! Gaigioma. Haven't heard of that. Gaigioma. We're gonna have to do Malawi. Thank you, Howdy. Appreciate you. Aponitalao and Apolipolinayan had a son whose name was Dumalawi. When the son had become a young man, his father, one day, was very angry with him and tried to think of some way in which to destroy him. Is there a reason for this, Aponitalao? The next morning he said to Dumalawi, "Son, sharpen your knife and we will go to the forest to cut some bamboo." So Dumalawi sharpened his knife and went with his father to the place where the bamboo grew, and they cut many sticks and sharpened them like spears at the end. Male jealousy? Yeah, I guess so. Does there need to be a reason? We don't need reasons for things. Reasons are overrated. Dumalawi wondered why they made them thus, and when they finished, Aponitalao said, "Now, son, you throw them at me, so that we can see which is braver." "Son, we're playing chicken!" "Spear chicken!" "No, father," answered Dumalawi. "You throw first, if you want to kill me." Father-son bonding experience. Who can kill each other first? Doo-da, doo-da. So Aponitalao threw the bamboo sticks one by one at his son, but he could not hit him. When it was his son's turn to throw, but he said, "No, I cannot. You are my father, and I do not want to kill you." So they went home. But Dumalawi was very sorrowful, for he knew now that his father wanted to destroy him. When his mother called him to dinner, he could not eat. Ooh, pictures of some old tribal coconut trees top of the homes. Old structures. Cool. Elevated living rooms reached by ladders. Interesting. Although he had been unsuccessful in his first attempt, Aponitalao did not give up on the idea of getting rid of his son, and the next day he said, "Nipa." So, I don't know if she sorted it, but this would be Tingan tribe, I would think. But you're probably more right than this silly British lady. "Come, Dumalai, we will go to our little house in the field and repair it, so that it will be a protection when the rainy season sets in." The father and son went together to the field, and when they reached the little house, Aponitalao pointed at a certain spot in the ground and said, "Dig there, and you will find a jar of basi, which I buried when I was a boy. It will be very good to drink now." Dumalawi dug up the jar, and they tasted the wine, and it was so pleasing to them they drank 3 coconut shells full, and Dumalawi became drunk. While his son lay asleep on the ground, Aponitalao decided that this was a good time to destroy him. So he used his magical power, and there arose a great storm which picked up Dumalawi and in his sleep and carried him far away. And the father went home. I love it. I love how magical powers get pulled out of their asses. It's great. Absolutely terrible. I mean, the father clearly is a beta male. Any father that's getting jealous of their child is a beta male. Absolutely. Oh, more of them. Interesting. Might also be karma. Perhaps the lords of the sky do not like the sun. Yeah. There seems to be some favor for the sun. Didn't know we were reading Wisdom Bars. Now then, Dumalawi woke. When Dumalawi awoke, he was in the middle of a field so wide that whichever way he looked, he could not see the end. There was neither trees nor houses in the field, and no living thing except himself, and he felt a great loneliness. By and by he used his magical powers, and many betel nuts grew in the field, and when they bore fruit, it was covered with gold. "This is good," said Dumalawi, "for I will scatter these betel nuts, and they shall become people, who will be my neighbours." Go, go, gadget, betel nuts! So, in the middle of the night, he cut the gold-covered betel nuts into many small pieces, which he scattered in all directions, And in the early morning, when he awoke, he heard many people talking around the house, and many roosters crowed. And when Dumalawi knew he had companions, and upward going out, he walked about where the people were warming themselves by fires in their yards, and he visited them. In one yard was a beautiful maiden, Dapilisan. And after Dumalawi had talked with her and her parents, he went on to the other yards, but she was ever in his thoughts. As soon as he visited all the people, he returned to the house of Dapilisan and asked her parents if he might marry her. They were unwilling at first, for they feared that the parents of Dumalawi might not like it. But after he explained that his father and mother did not want him, they gave their consent, and Dapilisan became his bride. Hello, Licorice, welcome! The blandest reaction to growing magical golden bells. Degree certainly life. This is good. Yes, very good, very good. Soon after the marriage, they decided to perform a ceremony for the spirits. So Dapilisan sent for the betel nuts, which were covered with gold. And when they were brought to her, she said, "You betel nuts that are covered with gold, come here and oil yourselves, and go and invite all the people in the world to come to our ceremony." So many people want the whole world to come to their wedding ceremonies. Yay, I'm nailing pronunciations. She didn't tell them to grow on their knees. I assume that's just something that happens with betel nuts. So the betel nuts oiled themselves and went to invite the people in the different towns. To think people tried turning lead to gold, and all you had to do was plant it in the ground. Exactly, right? If the Japanese could have sentient slippers, we could have betel nuts. Fair! Fair argument. They have sentient, like, umbrellas and stuff, too, don't they? All that nuts, indubitably. Soon after this, Apolibolinayan and the mother of... But I don't say it for 2 seconds and I forget. Dumalawi sat alone in her house, still mourning the loss of her son, when suddenly she was seized by the desire to chew a betel nut. "What ails me?" she said to herself. "Why do I want to chew? I had not intended to eat anything while Dumalawi was away." So saying, she took down her basket that hung on the wall, and saw in it a betel nut covered with gold. And when she was about to cut in it, said, "Do not cut me, for I have come to invite you to the ceremony in which Dumalawi and his wife are to make." Apolibolinayan was very happy, for she knew now her son had still lived, and she told all the people to wash their hair and prepare to go to the rite. So they washed their clothes and their hair and started for the home of Dumalawi and Aponitalau. The father of the boy followed, but he looked like a crazy man. When the people reached the river near the town, Dumalawi sent alligators to take them across. But when Aponitalau got on the alligator's back, it dived, and he was thrown back upon the bank of the river. All the others were carried safely over, and Aponitalau, who was left on the bank alone, shouted as if crazy, until Dumalawi sent another alligator to carry him across. Alligator. Most Filipino words are syllabic. Pronounce them as they're written. Wonderful! That's how words should be. She says, knowing that, like, English is not like that sometimes. But that is how words should be. Male Karen Bay. Yeah, they're kind of both. They're both useful magical tools and delicious. When Dumolai had food brought, Tapili, dab, 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 dab. Exactly. It should. Words should sound how they are spelled. That is how language should work. But it doesn't. The Pilizan passed Bassi in a little jar that looked like a fist, and though each guest drank a cupful of the sweet wine, the little jar was still a third full. After they had eaten and drunk, a Polybolinayan spoke, and telling all the people that she was glad to have Dalipisan for a daughter-in-law, added, "Now we are going to pay the marriage price according to our custom. We shall fill the spirit house 9 times with different kinds of jars." Then she called, "You spirits who live in different springs, get the jars which Dumwalai must pay as a marriage price for Dalapisan." The spirits did as they were commanded, and when they brought the jars, and had filled the spirit house 9 times, a Polybolinayan said to the parents of Dalapisan, "I think that now we have paid the price for your daughter." But Dalonagan, the mother of Dalapisan, was not satisfied and said, "No, there is still more to pay." Dapilisan. How was I getting it right and then I decided to get it wrong? How'd you fill in a house 9 times? I don't know. Magic. My great uncle's hometown often had crocodiles and alligators running around in a full moon. Ironically, not the scariest thing there. Where crocodiles? And where alligators? "Very well," replied a Polybolinayan. "Tell us what it is, and we will pay for it." Then Dalonagan called a pet spider and said, "You, big spider, go all around the town, and as you go, spin a thread, on which a Polybolinayan must string gold beads." So the spider spun the thread, and a Polybolinayan again called to the spirits of the spring, and they brought golden beads, which they strung on the thread. Then Dalonagan hung on the thread, and when it did not break, she declared that the debt was all paid. After this, the people feasted and made merry, and when at last they departed for home, Dumwalai refused to go with his parents, but remained with his wife in the town he had created. This sounds like almost like an isekai power fantasy, but not quite. Yes, I made this whole town with nuts, and now I'm staying here because I love my nut wife. You have Alagaster lectin here, but have not eaten it. Do you mean alligator? But people have said it's good, I see. What happened to the father? We don't know. We don't know. Like I said, that's the thing, C86. You've got to remember that a lot of these folk tales come from a time when storytelling did not have structure. Or, at the very least, they were just kind of told very willy-nilly. So things just don't make sense the way they do in, like, more modern stories or modern iterations of storytelling. Which is something, I find quite fascinating in itself. It's that big difference between what would have been an oral presentation rather than a written or printed presentation. Because this might have been the way it was told. It was probably told with so much more embellishment around a campfire, and they probably came to a close with such a dramatic thing, and that everyone would have had a good time and drank more. Gotta get the context of how these would have been told. I'm not quite the bard that they would have been back then. Yeah, mostly they are told in gatherings and such, kind of like how the US folk would do their own cryptids and fearsome critters. Indubitably. Very much like Arthur for us. King Arthur. There's so many different stories of King Arthur because so many different people would have told different ways and different nights and things like that. I recently read Gawain and the Green Knight, and there was a movie of that recently, and the movie was so much weirder than the actual folktale. The folktale was less weird than the movie. It was still weird though. Still weird. Hey, want to know about one of their kids? Kanang. Also remember that this is filtered through a recollection of Mary Cook, who is listening to one storyteller. Indeed, this is the recollection of a woman who went on an expedition in the 1920s? So, it was a long time ago. The JRPG protagonist, he does sound like that's a JRPG protagonist name if I ever heard one. It may not be the most accurate due to language barrier. Indeed, we have to keep all this in mind while reading this. When the rice had grown tall, and it was near the time for it to ripen, a Ponytalau and a Polybolinayan grew fearful lest the wild pig should break in and destroy their crop. So they sent their son, Kanang, to the field to guard the grain. Kanang willingly went to the place, and when he found that the fences were all strong so the pigs could not get in, and he was left with nothing to do, life in the little watch house grew lonely, and the boy became very unhappy. Each day Ponytalau carried cooked rice and meat to his son in the field, but Kanang could not eat, and always bade his father hang it in the watch house until he should want it. Each time Ponytalau found the food of the day before still untouched, and he began to suspect that the boy was unhappy at having to guard the grain. But he said nothing of his fears to a Polybolinayan. Kanang, yeah, I got it. 1915, I believe. 4th year of the Taisho era. Interesting. What was I going to say? Another theme of this, which I think is like a big theme in a lot of folk tales and a lot of tales in general, is the whole not eating when you're upset. But these folk tales take it to the extreme of like physically just starving yourself when you're upset. Ka like caramel, nang like nagging. Kanag. Naruhodo. Don't know. Everyone's a damn wizard back then. I will eat. Exactly, Licorice. I'm the same. I'll eat more when I'm upset. So I don't really understand this. I won't lie. But I know some people do this. One day after his father returned home, Kanag was so lonely that he used his magical power and became a little bird, and flew up into the top of a tree. The next day, when Ponytalau came to the field, he looked everywhere for his son, and when he could not find him, he called from the top of the bamboo tree. A little bird answered him. Realizing what had happened, his father was very sad, and begged his son to come back and be a boy again. But Kanang only answered, "I would rather be a bird, and carry the message of the spirits to the people." At last the father went home alone, and he and the boy's mother were filled with grief that they had lost their son. Some time after this, Ponytalau prepared to go out to fight. He took his spear and shield and head axe. Can he fly on the head axe like a witch? That would be lovely. And started early one morning. But when he reached the gate of the town, Kanag flew over him, giving him a bad sign, so he turned back. The next morning he started again, and this time the little bird gave him a good sign. Knowing that nothing would injure him, he went on. After a long journey, he reached a hostile town where the people said they were glad to see him, and added that because he was the first of his people who had dared to enter their town, they intended to keep him there. "Oh," said Aponitelao, "if you say that I cannot return home, call all your people together and we will fight." "You are very brave," answered his enemies, "if you wish to fight us all." And when the people had gathered together, they laughed at him and said, "Why, one of our fingers would fight you." Nevertheless, Aponitelao prepared to fight, and when the bravest of the enemy threw his spear and head-axe at him, he jumped and escaped. They noticed that he jumped very high, so they all ran at him, throwing their spears, trying to kill him. But Aponitelao caught all their weapons, and while they were unarmed, he threw his own spear, and it flew about among them until it had killed them all. Yondu style, by the sounds of it. Then he sent his head-axe, and it cut off all the heads of the enemy, and he used magical power so that these heads went to his home in Kadalayapan. It was mentioned in the preface people back then were magical, according to gate logic. This was because they were more mystery or symbol. Ah, fate logic. Yes. I know the mystery fate logic. I suppose we were closer to the other realm in the past. Our lives were connected to that of the various and such, and they interacted with magic more. Perhaps there are those that are still connected to the other realms in some way. Some that can see Encanto for what they are. Or maybe they're just drunk. Mavi! Hello! Kamokra. Can I call you Kamokra? I can't quite pronounce your name, but hello, welcome. Okay, Japanese anime Fate. They have a system in the Fate universe where it's like they need to preserve the mystery of things because that's where the power comes from. He's a swordmaster style user. He prefers to use gunsling, but have a tri-roll guard. No. What's up? Aponitelao. Well, no, Aponitelao's flying child. Aponitelao's spears murdered an entire town. That's what it's up. After that, Aponitelao sat down by the gate of the town to rest, and the little bird flying over his head called down, "The sign that I gave you was good, father, and you have killed all your enemies." "Yes," said the man, and as he started on the homeward journey, the little bird always flew near him. When he reached home, he stuck the heads around the town, and commanded the people to go out all over the world and invite everyone, and especially the pretty girls, you are married, good sir, to come to a party in celebration of his victory. The people came from all parts of the world, and while they played on the gongs and danced, Aponitelao called to Kanag and said, "Is monogamy not a big deal in these folk tales? Because a lot of the women are not that angry at the husbands having more than one wife, which could just be a culture thing. Maybe. Come down, my son. Do not stay always in the tops of the trees. Come and see the pretty girls, and see which one you want to marry." Oh, he wanted it for his kid. That makes sense. I'll let you off, Aponitelao. I'll let you off. "Get the golden cup and give them Bassi to drink." But Kanag answered, "I would rather stay in the tops of the trees and give the signs when everyone goes to fight." I'm glad to see the ancient tradition of "we're gonna get you married, son," stays alive. That is, in fact, part of the human condition, methinks. Again, the past had marriage more a suggestion. It wasn't just us, I suppose. Not gonna lie, but Kanag sounds like a coward. I'd rather stay in the trees and give signs. Yeah, right, that's me when I'm scared. I'll just stay in the trees. That sounds bad. I mean, I can relate. I'll just stay in the trees. I don't want to be a human. What if I just stayed in the trees and been a bird and then not have as many responsibilities in my life? That sounds great. Not gonna lie. Then the father and mother pleaded with him to become a boy once more, begging his forgiveness and promising never again to send him to guard the rice. But he would not listen to them, and only flew away. Finding that they could not win him that way, Aponitalao and Apolibolinayan called the spirit servants and commanded them to follow Kanag wherever he went, and to find a girl whom he would want to marry. So the spirit servants went after him, and wherever he went, they followed. By and by, they stopped near a well, and the spirit servants used magic so that all the pretty girls nearby felt very hot. In the early morning, they came to the well to bathe. One among them was so beautiful that she looked like a flame of fire among the betel-nut blossoms. And when the servants saw her washing her hair, they ran to Kanag and begged him to come and see her. At first he would not listen to them, but after a while he flew to the top of a betel-nut tree nearby, and when he caught sight of her, he flew into the tree above her head. But, he said to the servants, what can I do if I become a man now? For I have no clothes and no headband. Oh my, he would be naked. Bird learned to fly and I can't blame. Exactly. Man chose to be a bird, then meets a woman. Hey, if my impotent parents introduced me to a magic day, why would I not at least meet her? Exactly. Do not worry about that, said the spirit servant, for we have everything here for you. So Kanag became a man, and put on the clothes and the headband, and he went to speak to the girl. He gave her betel-nut, and they chewed together, and he said, my name is Kanag, and I am the son of Aponitalao and Aponibolinayan. Then the girl said, my name is Depilisan. How did you say that one? I gotta look at it. Kanag. Just gonna scroll up and chat. You don't have to tell me again. It's all good. It's all good. I'll find it. Dapilisan. Yeah, Dapilisan. And I am the daughter of Bangan and Dalonagan. When Dapilisan went home, Kanag followed her, and he told her parents his name and how he had changed into a little bird. And when he had finished, he asked if he might marry their daughter. Bangan and his wife were greatly pleased that Kanag wanted Dapilisan for his wife. But they were afraid that his parents might object, so they sent a messenger to invite Aponitalao and Apolibolinayan to come visit them. As soon as Kanag's parents heard their son had become a man, they were very happy, and they started at once to go to him, carrying many fine presents. Before arrangements for the wedding could be made, it was necessary to decide on the price to be paid for the girl. A long discussion took place. Banang and Dalonagan finally said that the spirit house must be filled 9 times with different kinds of jars. When this was done, Dalonagan raised her eyebrows, and half the jars disappeared. Apolibolinayan used her magic power, and the spirit house was filled again. And then Dalonagan said to her, now the web of the spider shall be put around the town, and you must put gold beads on it. If it does not break, Kanang may marry Dalapisan. When Apolibolinayan had put the gold beads on the thread, Dalonagan hung on it to see if it would hold. As it did not break, she declared that the sign was good, and Kanang and Dalapisan were married. Then the people played on the copper gongs, danced, and made merry for a long time. And when they returned to their homes, Kanang and his bride went with a Ponitalau and a Polibolinayan. I thought so. I thought that was the end of that one. So this one is... Let's try find some meanings. The meaning is don't neglect your son. If you see they're trying to starve themselves because they're depressed, maybe you should talk to them and not ignore that sign. Then maybe they won't turn into a bird and you won't have to find a stupidly hot lady to get them out of being a bird. Yeah, I think that's really fun that she's compiled so many different versions of different stories and that these characters have been used in so many different ways. Because Polibolinayan used to be the hot lady that people saw as a literally on fire. But now she's just the mum character, so it's really interesting. And a Ponitalau, in the first story we had him, I believe a Ponitalau was actually her brother in the first story, not her husband, so it's very cool. Also, depressed person does not want to get into relationships unless they're really hot. Unless they're physically on fire, depressed people don't want to get into relationships. Remember, when feeling the need to fly, hot lady. It is like Paul Bunyan. Magically hot. So magically hot. The story of Tiki. We will come work for you. Let us cut your rice. Liggy had gone to the field to look at his growing rice. But when he heard this sound, he looked up and was surprised to see some birds circling above and calling to him. I want someone to work for me. I want magical nuts that'll do whatever I want. But the birds insisted that they knew how to cut rice, so finally he told them, Why, you cannot cut rice, said Liggy. You are birds, and know only how to fly. But the birds insisted they knew how to cut rice, so finally he told them to come again when the grain was ripe, and they flew away. Tick like tick, gee like tick, gee, ticky, tick, gee. Like he. So ticky, ticky. Not like tiki. I'm not like pronouncing the G so much. We're gonna go tiki, tiki, tiki. No sooner had the birds gone than Liggy was filled with a great desire to see them again. As he went home, he wished over and over that his rice was ready to cut. As soon as Liggy left the field and Tiki birds began using music so that the rice would grow rapidly. Oh, talking jars. And 5 days later, when he returned, he found the birds were ready to cut the ripened grain. Liggy showed them where to begin cutting, and then he left them. Rice is the potato of the Philippines. Indeed. Rice is a very abundant here too. It's quite a large part of the culture and the main staple of every meal. I see. Potato. Asian potato. If I remember correctly, Furry told me not to emphasize K's too much. Don't take my word for it. That was 8 months ago. Good to know. Tigi. So I think Tigi is a bit better then, if I'm not really like emphasizing the K so much. And when he was out of sight, the Tigi said to the rice cutters. Liggy showed them where to begin cutting, and then he left them. Rice cutters, you cut the rice alone. And to the band, which were laying nearby, they said, Bands, you tie the bundle on the rice, which the cutters cut. Oh, some dude playing a nose flute. That's cool. And the rice cutters and the bands worked alone, doing what they were told. When Legee went again to the fields in the afternoon, the Tegee said, "Come, Legee, and see what we have done, and we want to go home now, for we want to go home now." Legee was amazed, for he saw 500 bundles of rice cut, and he said, "Oh, Tegee, take all the rice you wish as payment, for I am very grateful." It is a cool instrument. Then the Tegee each took 1 head of rice, saying it was all they could carry, and they flew away. The next morning, when Legee reached the field, he found the birds already there, and he said, "Now, Tegee, cut the rice as fast as you can, for when it is finished I will make a ceremony for the spirits, and you must come." "Yes," replied the Tegee, "and now we shall begin the work, but you do not need to stay here." What is a nose flute? I mean, it's self-explanatory, but it's my first time hearing of it. I only vaguely knew they existed until now, but recorder in your nose, I suppose. Yeah, apparently you guys had some nose flutes too, according to this British lady a long time ago. Should we see if we can find some, like, clips of nose flute music? Why can't I hear myself? That's terrible. That's mute. There we go. Wonderful. Okay. YouTube. Nose flute clips. Nose flute. Nose flute playing. Like actual nose flute, not like people randomly putting stuff up their nose. Indigenous nose flute. That's what we want. Hello. I found a little short. I will put links in description for you. Let me make sure you guys can hear it. Audio default.
Flute before?
Sounds pretty good, actually. This is a nose flute noise. This is. I will give you guys the short that we just listened to.
Have you heard of?
And you guys can look this up as well. There we go. Thank you to Bella Sisowski. We appreciate you. Not many people are watching on Twitch, but let's put it in the Twitch as well. It wasn't really up the nose, it was like to the side, which I guess makes it more fluty, because flutes you do have to the side and then you like blow down on it, so that makes sense. Fascinating! I love doing tangents like that. We learn things and it's wonderful. Where were we? Oh yes, Needmaster here. So Legee went home and built a rice granary to hold his grain, and when he returned to the field, the rice was all cut. When the Legee said, "We have cut all your rice," Legee, "so give us our prey, and we will go home. The rice will all be in your granary." Legee wondered at this, and when he reached home and saw that his granary was full of rice, he doubted if the Tegee could be real birds. Not long after this, Legee invited all his relatives from the different towns to help him make the ceremony for the spirits. As soon as the people arrived, the Dagi also came also. Oh, we got some potters at work. And some seeding and combing cotton. Cool. And they flew over the people's heads and made them drink bassi until they were drunk. Then they said to Legee, "We are going home now. It is not good for us to stay here, for we cannot sit among the people." When they started home, Legee followed them until they came to the Bana Assi tree. And here he saw them take off their feathers and put them in the rice granary. Then suddenly they became one beautiful woman. "Are you not the Dagi who came to cut my rice?" asked Legee. "You look like a beautiful maiden." This is unrelated, but me and Furry have been arguing about microwave rice for months. I ended up winning because she found out that it was okay if the rice was pre-cooked. It is okay if the rice is pre-cooked. Yeah. She's a burb woman. "Yes," she replied. "I became Tigi and cut rice for you, for otherwise you would not have found me." Legee took her back to his house, where the people were making the ceremony, and as soon as they saw her, they began chewing the magical betel nuts to find out who she might be. Do they get information from the betel nuts too? The betel nuts are I want a D&D item that is a betel nut. Just as sometimes a man is 3 kobolds in a trench coat, sometimes a woman can be a flock of birds. 3 kobolds in a trench coat. Bad news for the man who turned into a bird to avoid talking to women. The quid of Ibang and her husband and that of Tigi went together, so they knew that she was their daughter, who had disappeared from their house one day long ago, while they were in the fields. In answer to their many questions, she told them that she had been in the Banassi tree, where Kabonian had carried her, until the day that she changed herself into the Tigi birds, and went to the field of Legee. Legee was very fond of the beautiful girl and asked her parents if he might marry her. They were very willing and decided on a price he should pay. After the wedding, all the people remained at his house, feasting and dancing for 3 months. So the answer is, if some sussy birds want to help you out, then they may or may not be a beautiful woman. Yay! Oddly enough, how do you guys see kobolds? Lupine kobolds have been getting more popular, although I tend to see them as the lizard boys. Tiny lizard boys. Argonian kobolds, indeed. Be kind to birds, that's for sure, yes. A quid? Yeah, it was a British lady who wrote this, so. The story of Cyan. In the depths of a dark forest, where people seldom went, lived a wizened old Alan. The skin of her wrinkled face was as tough as a caribou hide, and her long arms with fingers pointed back from the wrists were horrible to look at. Now, this frightful creature had a son, whose name was Cyan. And he was as handsome as his mother was ugly. He was a brave man also, and often went far away alone to fight. We have our first hag! Adds more fuel to the birds aren't real conspiracy yet. They're either drones or flocks of beautiful women. I've been kind to cats all my life. I'm gonna see Nekamusume, baby! Why are women always turned into birds? It also happened with Hera and other myths around the globe. That is interesting. That's a interesting that multiple cultures have got linked onto that. Flying is a cool skill. Why would you not want to be a bird? Exactly. That is a good point. Assuming it's because birds are considered graceful and light, which are supposedly feminine traits. Most likely, Roach. Most likely. On these journeys, Cyan sometimes met beautiful girls, and thought he wanted to marry, but he could not decide upon one. Hearing that one Danepan was more Danepan. I was going to say Danepan, but that's definitely more of an English pronunciation. Danepan was more beautiful than any other. He determined to go and ask her to be his wife. Now Danepan was very shy, and when she heard that Cyan was coming to her house, she hid behind the door and sent her servant Lay out to meet him. And so it happened that Cyan, upon Cyan not seeing Danipan, married Lay, thinking that she was her beautiful mistress. He took her away to his house he had built at the edge of the forest. For though he wished to be near his old home, he dare not allow his bride to set eyes on his ugly mother. Ooh my. For some time they lived happily together, and then one day when Cyan was making a plough under his house, he heard Lay singing softly to their baby in the room above, and this is what she sang. Cyan thinks I'm Danipan, but Lay I am. Cyan thinks I'm Danipan, but Lay I am. We've had a baby and I've still not told him. La 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 la. Oh, it's also a cool coincidence. Children of witches tend to be beautiful people in some Nordic cultures. Fascinating. When Cyan heard this, he knew that he had been deceived, and pondering long what he should do. The next morning he went to the field to plough, for it was near the rice planting time. Before he left the house, he called to his wife, "When the sun is straight above, you and the baby bring food to me, for I shall be busy in the field." Before he began to plough, however, he cut the bamboo supports of the bridge which led to the field, so that when Lay and the baby came with food, they had no sooner stopped on the bridge than it went down with them, and they were drowned. Holy shit! Okay, Cyan, let's just murder them. Like, he's been married to this woman for, I don't know, at least 9 months to have the babies, so surely he loved her anyway. Could we not have just been like, "I never told you because I thought you'd hate me. I thought you might cut these bridge supports and murder me and my child." He murdered his child for it. What the fuck? He is the child of a witch, that's true. Jesus Christ. There will be no welcome. No welcome for cheaters. Only death. What the hell? Oh, lordy. Cyan was free again. He took his spear and his shield and his head axe and went at once to the town of Danipan, and there he began killing the people on all sides. Yay! Terror spread through the town. No one could stop his terrible work of destruction until Danipan came down out of her house and begged him to spare part of the people, that she might have some from whom to borrow fire. Her great beauty amazed him, and he ceased killing, and asked her to prepare some betel nut for him to chew. as he was very tired. She did so, and when he had chewed the nut, he spat on the people he had killed, and they came back to life! As you do! Then he married Danipan and took her to his home. Poorly. Now it happened about this time that the people of Magosang were in terrible trouble. At the end of a successful hunt, while they were dividing the meat among themselves, the Cromau, a murderous spirit that looks like a man, would come to them and ask how many they had caught. If they answered 2, then he would say that he caught 2 also. When they went home, they would find 2 people in the town dead. As often as they went to hunt, the Cromau did this, and many of the people of Magosang were dead, and those living were in great fear. Finally they heard of the brave man Sayen, and they begged him to help them. Sayen listened to all they told and said, "I will go with you to hunt. While you are dividing the meat, I will hide in the trees. When the Cromau comes to ask how many deer you have, he will smell me, but you must say that you do not know where I am." Toxic marriage. Yeah. No, I don't think he revived his drowned family. I think they're still dead. Good Lord. So the people went to hunt, and when they had killed 2 deer, they singed them over a fire and began to divide them. Just then the Cromau arrived. "How many have you?" "We have 2, replied the people. I have 2 also, said the Cromau, "but I smell Sayen." "We do not know where Sayen is," answered the people, and just then he sprang out and killed Cromau, and the people were greatly relieved. Now then, Carbonian, a great spirit, heard what Sayen had done, and went to him and said, "Sayen, you are a brave man, because you have killed the Cromau. Tomorrow I will fight with you. You must remain on low ground by the river. I will go to the hill above." So the following day Sayen went to the low ground by the river. He had not waited long before he heard a great sound like a storm, and he knew Carbonian was coming. He looked up, and there stood the great warrior poising his spear, which was as large as a big tree. "Are you brave, Sayen?" He called in a voice like thunder as he threw the weapon. "Yes," answered Sayen, and he caught the spear. This surprised Carbonian, and he threw his head axe, which was as large as the roof of a house, and Sayen caught that also. When Carbonian saw that this was indeed a brave man, and he went down to Sayen, and they fought face to face until they were both tired, but neither could overcome the other. When Carbonian saw in Sayen he had found one as strong and brave as even himself, he proposed that they go together to fight the people of different towns, and they started out at once. Many people were killed by this strong pair, and why they themselves could never be captured was a great mystery, for it was not known that one was the spirit of Carbonian and the other the son of Alan. If he was surrounded in river, Cyan would become a fish and hide so that people would not find him. And if he was entrapped in a town, he would become a chicken and go under the house in a chicken coop. In this way, he escaped many times. Finally, one night, after he had killed many in one town, the people decided to watch him, and they saw him go to roost with the chickens. The next day, they placed a fish trap under the house near the chicken coop, and that night, Cyan went under the house. He was caught in the trap and killed. Now that was wild. Gilgamesh and Enkidu rip off. GG, good run. Bro did some good things, did a lot of bad things, and got killed as a chicken. Oh, what even are these stories? I love them. I love them so much. Cyan was indeed a piece of garbage. His shapeshifting is similar to Aswang. Maybe this is an early Aswang before we get to him. He's definitely in here somewhere. He's been mentioned, Mr. Aswang. But we'll get there. But Alan is the witch that was his parent. So I'm interested. Sadly, I have to go. So you say, "Pa, well, thank you for coming, Jared. Appreciate it." Cyan died reflecting what he is. A chicken. He said he was so brave, but he died as a chicken. Noises. I have many of them. Natural brainy noises. Aswang is just the general term for evil spirits, like Japanese yokai or fae. Oh, thank you for telling me. Should we learn about the sun and the moon? Do, 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 do. The sun and the moon. Once the sun and the moon quarrelled with each other, and the sun said, "You are only the moon, and are not much good. If I did not give you light, you would be no good at all." Did they understand that the moon reflected sunlight all the way back then? That's amazing. But the moon answered, "You are only the sun. You are very hot. You are very hot. The women like me better, for when I shine at night, they go outdoors and spin." Wow, this is literally the tiniest little bit. These words of the moon made the sun so angry that he threw sand in her face, and you can still see the dark spots on the face of the moon. Bro! So that's why the moon has dark spots, because the moon mouthed off to the sun so hard that the sun threw sand in her face. Moon just got that riz, indubitably. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad that was put in. That could, like, I could imagine trying to, like, go through these stories. You'd easily think about maybe omitting that, but that's beautiful. 10 out of 10. The sun got pocket sanded. Pocket sand! That's exactly what happened. That's why the moon is like that. Now you look at the moon and you're like, look at that pocket sand. Wonderful. Should we learn how the Tingyuan learned to plant? In the very old times, the Tingyuan did not know how to plant and harvest as they do now. For food, they had only the things that grew in the forests and fish from the streams. Neither did they know how to cure people who became ill or were injured by evil spirits, and many died who might have otherwise lived. Then Cadaclan, the great spirit who lives in the sky, saw that people often were hungry and sick, and he sent one of his servants, Cabonian, to the earth to teach them many things. And it happened this way. Dayapan, a woman who lived in Kalang, had been sick for 7 years. One day, when she went to the spring to bathe, there entered her body a spirit who had rice and sugarcane with him, and he said to her, Dayapan, take these to your home and plant them in the ground, and after a while they will grow large enough to reap. Then, when they are ripe, build a granary and put the rice in until you shall need it, and a sugar press to cut the cane. And when these are finished, make the ceremony, Sayung, and you will be well. Dayapan was filled with wonder at these strange things, but she took the rice and the sugar cane and went home as she was commanded. While she was trying to plant them in the ground, the spirit again entered her body and showed her just what to do. Since then, the Tingyuan have planted crops every year, and because they do as Cabonian taught the woman, they have plenty to eat. When Dayapan had reaped the first rice and cane, she began to make the ceremony Sayung. And the spirit came again and directed her, and when she was finished she was cured. He told her to take a dog and a cock and go to bathe in the river, as a sign that the ceremony was finished. So she went to the river and tied the dog and the cock near the water, but while she was bathing, the dog ate the cock. Dayapan wept bitterly at this and waited a long time for Cabonian. And when at last he came, he said, if the dog had not killed the cock, no person would die when you make this ceremony, but this is a sign, and now some will die, and some will get well. Dayapan called the people together and told them the things that the spirit had taught her, and they could see that she had been made well. After that, when people became ill, they called Dayapan to treat them, and it was as the spirit had said. Some died, and others made well. So basically, because the dog ate the cock, that's why we die of illness. Because the ritual went wrong because the dog was hungry. She should have fed the dog. Granary. The first thing that comes to my mind if I was told to build a granary, not knowing what farming is, what the fuck is a granary? A granary. Yeah, that's fair. I thought with all that, it's like, how would you even know how to plant? But I guess when the spirit comes in and like shows her how to do it, that kind of fixes it. But yeah, the dog ate the cock. And now we all die of sickness because the dog ate the cock. Don't eat cock. Magsawi. A great many years ago. Dog had that plague and it did. A great many years ago, some Tingyuan left their little village in the valley early one morning and made their way towards the mountain. They were off on a deer hunt, and each carried a spear and a head axe, while one in leash a string of lean dogs eager for the chase. Part way up the mountainside, the dogs were freed, and the men separated off, going different ways in search of game. But ere long, the sharp barking of a dog called all in his direction, for they believed that he had a deer at bay. As they approached the spot, however, the object did not look like a deer, and as they drew near, they were surprised to find that it was a large jar. Filled with curiosity, they pressed on, but the jar evaded them. Faster and faster they ran, but the object, disappearing at times, then coming into view again, feels like they found an SCP. Always escaped them. On and on they went until at last, tired out, they sat down on a wooden hill to rest and refresh themselves with betel nut, which they took from brass boxes attached to their belts. As they slowly cut the nuts and wrapped them in the lime and leaf ready for chewing, they talked of nothing but the wonderful jar and the mysterious power it possessed. Then, just as they were about to put the tempting morsels into their mouths, they stopped, startled by a strange soft voice which seemed to be near them. They turned and listened, but they could see no person. Dog and chickens show up in the myths a lot here. There's also a depiction of a chicken that is at the helm of the afterlife boat! Karen's a chicken? Perfect. Wonderful. "Find a pig which has no young," said the voice, "and take its blood, for then you will be able to catch the jar which your dog pursued." The men knew that the mysterious jar belonged to a spirit, so they hastened to do as the voice commanded, and when they had secured the blood, the dog again brought the jar at bay. The hunters tried to seize it, but it entered a hole in the ground and disappeared. How many animals die? Trigger warning. Many animals will die. Many animals were harmed in the production of this folklore. As many as the spirits demand. They followed and followed themselves in a dark cave, where it was easy to catch the jar, for there was no outlet save the hole through which they had entered. Though that was many years ago, the jar still lives, and its name is Magsui. Even now it talks, but some years ago a crack appeared in its side, and since then its language has not been understood by the Tingyuan. Sometimes the Magsui goes on long journeys alone. When he visits his wife, a jar in Ilocos Norte, or his child, a small jar in San Quintin. But he always returns to Domakyo on the hillside near a cave. Yeah, so this might be one of the jars. Where is it? Where's our talking jars? Talking jar. There they are. There they are. Maybe this is him and his wife. She looks pretty. I think she must be the maybe I'm gendering jars a little bit, but I assume the fancy one's the wife. I'm sad that we didn't really get any dialogue of the jar. I would love to know what wisdom the jar has to share, but we don't know. The tree with the agate beads. Or is it agate? Eldon ripped the sentient jar people. It did! You guys had the sentient jar people down already. More than 100 seasons ago, a Tingyuan went one day to the mountains to hunt, accompanied by his faithful dog. He made his way steadily up the mountainside, only halting where it was necessary to cut a path through the jungle. And the dog ran here and there, searching in the thick underbrush. On and on he went without seeing any game, and then, when he was almost at the top of the highest peak, the dog gave a sharp yelp, and out of the bush leapt a fine deer. Zip! It went the man's spear, and it pierced the animal's side. For an instant he waited, but the deer did not fall. On it ran with unslackened speed, and a moment later it plunged into a hole in the ground, with the man and dog close in pursuit. A short distance from the entrance of the cave opened out into large, spacious rooms, and before he realized it, the man was hopelessly lost in the distance. He could hear the baying of the dog, and with no other guide, he hurried on through the darkness. Following the sound, he went for a long time, from one unfamiliar room to another, stumbling in the darkness and striking against the stone walls, and then suddenly his outstretched hands grasped a small tree on which berries grew. Astonished at finding anything growing in this dark place, he broke off a branch, and as he did so, the shrub began to talk in a strange language. Terrified, the man ran in the direction he last heard the dog, and a moment later he found himself in the open air on the banks of the Abra River, with the dead deer at his feet. When he examined the twig, which he still held in his hand, he saw to his great surprise that the berries were agate beads of great value, and packing the deer on his back, he hastened home, where he told his wonderful story. The sight of the beautiful beads convinced the people that he told the truth, and a number of men returned with him to secure the tree. Their quest, however, was unsuccessful, for ere they reached the spot, the evil spirit had taken the tree away, and on the walls of the cave had made strange carvings, which even to this day can be seen. Oh, this feels like a more local legend. Feels very much like a mythical, like a fountain of youth, an El Dorado kind of legend, where there's this thing of great value that's somewhere you can find it if you explore enough. That sounds really cool. I like that. That's a cool legend. Talking shrubs at a cave. My boy is about to free the slaves of Egypt. Wrong mythology. Wonderful. I like that one too. I like a lot of these. These are good. I am learning things and it's wonderful. The striped blanket. 3 Tingyuan once went to the mountains to hunt deer. They took their blankets with them, for they expected to be gone several days, and the nights in the mountains are cold. This is like agate trees sometimes flirt with me in Tagalog anime. The blankets of 2 of the men were blue and white designs, such are commonly worn by Tingyuan. But that of the 3rd was covered with red and yellow stripes, like the back of a little wild pig. At night the men rolled up in their blankets and lay down under a tree to sleep. But while the one in the striped blanket was still awake, 2 spirits came near and saw him. "Oh," he heard one spirit say to the other, "here we have something to eat, for here is a little wild pig." Then the man quickly took the blanket off one of his sleeping companions, and put his own in its place. Very soon the spirits came and ate the man under the striped blanket. Since that time, Tingyuan never slept under that kind of blanket, if they are where the spirits can get them. Okay. So do not sleep with a red and yellow blanket. You will get eaten by spirits. That is wild. Absolutely wild. Okay, we've got another show. Don't fuck with the fae. Yeah, definitely don't fuck with the fae. The spirits are scary. I'm gonna go on a very quick BRB. But it turned. It's like having your feet stick out the end of the bed. Yes, very much so. Do not wear a yellow striped blanket. A red and yellow blanket is cursed. Alan and the Hunters, probably, more rather than Alan. Two men once went to hunt wild pig in the mountains, and after some time they speared and killed one, but they had no fire over which to singe it. One man climbed the tree to see if there was a fire nearby. Meow! And discovering smoke at some distance, he started towards it. When he reached the place, he found that the fire was in the house of Alan, and he was very much afraid. But creeping up to the house, he found that the Alan and her baby were fast asleep. He stepped on tiptoe nevertheless, and Alan was awakened and called out, "Ipagaw! What do you want?" "I should like to get some fire," said the man, "for we have killed a wild pig." The Alan gave him the fire, and then, taking her basket, she went with him to the place where the pig was. I feel like we could also use an alternative commands that summon angry briny member, which is briny yelling row. I mean, you get that as a bonus for the angry cats. Regular English, Alan, this sounds funny. Just like white dude in a t-shirt and cargo pants living among indigenous tribes. Then Alan gave them the fire. After they had singed the animal, the Alan cut it up with her long nails and handed the liver to the man, telling him to take it to her house to feed the baby. The man started, and on the way, he ate the liver. Why would you do that? Yes, let's not do what the Fae said. Fucking idiot. When he reached the Alan's house, he did not know what to do. For some time he looked around, and then seeing a large cauldron of hot water on the fire, he threw the baby into it and went back. What? Oh no, I ate this baby's food. I guess I'll toss the baby into a cauldron. Toss the baby. Oh my fucking god. Folklores, bro. At least didn't eat the baby. I mean, that's good. Did the baby eat well? Asked the Alan. Very well, said the man. Then she put most of the meat into her basket and started home. As soon as she had gone, the man told his companions what he had done, and they were so frightened that they ran to hide. When the Alan reached her home and found the baby dead in the hot water, she was very angry and started back immediately to find the men, who in the meantime had climbed in a high tree and stood near the water. The Alan looked down into the water, and seeing the reflection of the men, she reached her long hand with the fingers pointed backwards. But when she could not touch them, she looked up and saw them in the tall tree. "How did you get up there?" she cried angrily. "We climbed up feet first," called down the man. But Alan, determined to get them, caught hold of a vine and started up the tree feet first. But before she could quite reach them, they cut the vine and she fell to the ground and was killed. Then the men came down and went to the Alan's house, where they found a jar full of beads and another of gold. And these they brought with them and they returned home. Wow! Yeah, that is a little fucked up. So they went to this old woman's house. The old woman helped them by lighting a fire, took some meat as payment, asked them to feed her baby. They killed her baby, then killed her and robbed her. What the fuck? 10 out of 10. And I'm going to leave it there for this evening. I'm going to leave you with that absolutely fucked up tale. Because I'm a little tired. It's been a long weekend. In terms of when I will be streaming again, I'm probably not going to stream Monday. 1, because of EP. 2, because like I said, it's that big bank holiday. So I'm gonna continue having some holiday. I will be back on Tuesday. You'll probably have the schedule Tuesday. Everything I would normally do on a Monday, you're probably gonna get on Tuesday this week. I'm trying to find a moral in the last story, but I'm lost. There's no moral. There is no moral. This is morally incorrect. Full stop. The moral is, don't be like these guys. The moral is, ugly women are fair game to murder and rob. I guess, maybe. The moral is, never tell people where you and your children live. Yeah! But for now, yes, that is all. I'll be back on Tuesday. If you have not already, I would highly appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you everyone in chat. Thank you anyone who looked. Thank you anyone watching the VOD. I really appreciate you coming around and checking out my content, and I hope you enjoyed. If you would like to support me in many other ways, you can do so in many ways. You can go to my Etsy, Bryony Rose Crafts, and buy some lovely little crochet goodies. There is YouTube membership where you can get email exclusive stream, Discord channel, and merch discounts. There's Patreon where you get short story exclusive streams, merch discounts, and free books. There is the Kofi where if you like my emotes, you can ask me to draw some for you. And there is my merch store where you can get ebooks, first edition copies of books I've written, bookmarks, a notebook, a soft pillow, and some stickers. But for now, I'm going to bed. I'm tired. Meh. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Oh look, it's the thing. This is my software that I use to read stuff. See you on Tuesday. I had fun. I hope you had fun. This has been Bryony Rose Smith, live in the Philippine Library. Goodbye.